All right, guys. So, with a channel that mainly revolves around true wireless earbuds, we've kind of gotten to a point where it's really hard for a product or a company to make something that's going to stand out. So, Soundcore, with their new release, which is the AeroFit 2 Pro, they've now come out with an open ear style design earbud that's basically a two-in-one. And it's definitely something I haven't seen before. I have not covered anything that is like this on the channel. And I think it's a very interesting approach because the open ear style earbud has obviously been a style that has taken over in the past year. And that's mainly because you get to be aware of all of your surroundings. It's not an earbud that's actually like sitting in your ear and you can hear people, you can hear traffic, you can hear all the noise around you, but still listen to what you're listening to. But with the AeroFit 2 Pro, it can also be a regular pair of earbuds with active noise canceling. And so that is very intriguing. And we're going to talk about how this is even possible. They do come in retailing. Well, it says that their normal retail price is going to be $179. But now through March 31st, you can actually pick them up for $149. So that is only $20 more than the regular AeroFit 2. And these have a whole lot to offer, which we're going to talk about throughout this video. But let's go ahead and start with some of the specs that these actually have. The AeroFit 2 Pros do have Bluetooth 6.1, so it does support multi-point connection. This pair is also high-res wireless certified because it does support LDAC playback. They are using fairly large 11.8 millimeter composite drivers, and it also has spatial audio, and it has spatial audio with head tracking if you do want to use that. We're going to talk about that a little bit more once we get into the app. And these also have button control. So instead of actual touch controls, which with a device that you can switch from one type of device to the other just by simply adjusting the hooks, you're not going to want something that's touch control because you will always accidentally pause your music or skip a track or something like that. So the fact that they moved this over to button control, I was very happy with. Now, because this does switch between two different modes, which one of them including the earbud getting more into your ear canal, it says it will fit 90% of people. It's something to do with the dimension or the width of your ears. You don't have to really worry about it though, because they do have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if it doesn't fit, you just send it back and they'll give you your money back. But I didn't have any issues with the fit of these. Now, there are 5 different adjustable positions on these, and this is kind of how this whole earbud works. In levels 1 and 2, it is in the open ear style. So if you want it really high or you want it a little closer to your ear canal, you have those adjustments. But as soon as you switch both of these into 4 and 5, it will automatically switch over into that active noise canceling mode. You actually hear a tone and you do hear the sound actually shift. So you hear the noise canceling kick in, but I also noticed that in noise canceling mode, the bass definitely bumps up quite a bit as well. And we'll talk about this once we get to the sound, but you will notice a difference between one listening mode and the other. Now, also keep in mind, depending on which mode you use them in, it will affect the battery life on these. Now, if you just use them in their open ear style design, you can get 7 hours of battery life on the earbuds and about 34 hours using the case. But in the active noise canceling mode, it drops the battery life down to 5 hours on the earbuds and about 24 hours using the case. So you can definitely tell that the noise canceling is affecting the battery life. But if you do happen to pick these up, it does have a fast charging feature where a 10-minute charge will get you about 3.5 hours of use. So that is definitely convenient there. But let's go ahead and kind of talk about the active noise canceling real quick, because in a design that doesn't actually use silicone ear tips, I wasn't expecting these to block out a whole lot of my surroundings, but I was quite surprised at the difference in how dim the sound around me got, how much it just kind of isolated me a lot more than just using them in the open ear mode. And it really did feel like I had 2 different earbuds in this one device, because open ear I use quite a bit because if I'm in a environment where my wife's in the house or the kids and I'm talking and I need to be aware if they're trying to get my attention or if I just need to hear something around me, most of the time I am using an open ear style earbud. But if I need that isolation, or if I'm just in an environment where it's a little too noisy, just simply pushing that down and having that just kind of dull everything out around me, is a huge difference, and that's something that you don't get with a lot of other open style earbuds. Now, with the style of the earbud and the way that the earbuds adjust, Soundcore did make the case fairly large, at least when it comes to the width. But in comparison to like the Shocks OpenFit Pros, you can see the Shocks is actually a taller case, where the Soundcore case is wider, but it's not a huge difference when it comes to actual size. So I've seen some people kind of complain about the size of the case, but if you compare it to other ones in the market, it's not really that big in comparison. But what it does allow you to do is just sit the earbuds in the case no matter how you have them adjusted. So if you had them in ANC mode, or if you had them in, the open ear mode, you don't have to like slide them back in to kind of get them to fit in this tiny compact case. But the case, I had no issue just throwing in my pocket. It's still easily just slim enough to fit in any pocket. I don't think anybody's going to have any issue there. And another huge plus about the case is it is a Qi wireless charging case. So although in the box it does come with a USB-C cable to charge these, you can just simply drop it on any Qi wireless charger and it'll just charge that way. Now, if you are going to look to use these outdoors, it does come in with an IP55 rating. And I've always said this with open ear style earbuds, having dust protection on top of water protection is really nice, because these are made to wear all day. So you could wear them on a job site, wear them at the beach, wear them wherever. And on top of, if they get rain or splashed on or something like that, they're fine. But also getting sand or dust or anything like that around them isn't going to damage these as easily as it would some of the other ones. Now, these also work with Soundcore's app, which I still to this day think is one of the best apps out there. It's very clean. It's very easy to navigate. There are plenty of different EQ options if you want to switch between those, and I will get into which one I actually prefer instead of the actual Soundcore one it has by default. But you can also go in and customize the EQ settings the way that you want. You have spatial audio, and you actually have two different levels of spatial audio. You can either go to music mode or movie mode, and there is a difference when it comes to this. So you can see that in music mode, it's not trying to make it sound as open and as artificial as it does in movie mode, which you do want space when it comes to movies. Again, I don't know what it is. It's just very hard for me to get into like spatial audio when it comes to music. It has the fixed mode where it will just kind of move around with you, or it has the head tracking mode where if you move, it sounds like it's at a central point. So it does have different ways if you have a preference on how you like to use spatial audio. But also within the app, you can turn it into a gaming mode if you need to cut down any kind of latency. And you can also kind of play around with some of the controls that you want if you don't like the way that it's set up out of the box. Now, if you are going to use these for taking phone calls, it does have 4 microphones total that is handling the phone calls. And I can easily say this is one of the better mics that I've heard on a pair of earbuds. So if a mic is a huge important factor to you, if you're somebody that's on the phone all the time while using earbuds, I think you will be very happy with these. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a quick test here. So here is a quick mic test outdoors using the AeroFit 2 Pros. And there's a little bit of noise off to the side. I can't really hear any wind or anything like that. But this is, well, there's a bird right there. But this is really just to give you an idea of what it would sound like if you were to take a call public. So now let's talk about the sound. And we actually have to talk about the sound in both different modes because there is a difference in my opinion. Now, as an open ear style earbud, surprisingly, there is plenty of low end here, but it is very fast. It's not sloppy. Obviously, it's not going to try and affect the mids and highs as much. And I do notice that with open ear style earbuds anyway, there always seems to be a lot of focus on the mids. I think they always want you to be able to hear vocalists really cleanly, or if you're somebody that listens to, TV shows or podcasts, you will have no issues with vocals or dialogue. And it also does a surprisingly good job with a lot of acoustic instruments and guitars. So the mids on these, I feel like were handled really nicely. The treble, I don't feel like has this overly bright or harsh sound to it. It definitely sounds pretty natural and even has like a slight amount of warmth to it. Now going back to the EQ setting that I actually liked the treble boost because I feel like no matter what mode I had it in, I never had an issue with like bass. But I did feel like the treble again just had a little too much warmth to it. So I did like to brighten it up, and just that one click in the EQ settings definitely did this. Now, when you push these down into ANC mode, it turns into a different earbud altogether. At least it did for me, because the bass really had some punch to it then. It definitely had that, I don't want to say subwoofer type effect. I'm not going to say like it rattles your head, but you can feel the impact quite a bit more. You always want to make sure they're sitting just about right in your ear so that it is blocking as much of your ear canal as it is, because that is what really brings out the sound, I feel like, the way that it's intended. And the sound is just fantastic in both modes. But the ANC mode, again, it isolates you. It allows you to be able to kind of focus in a lot more. I feel like the treble is brighter in this mode. And the mids, no matter what, I just felt like always stood out, no matter which mode that I was using. And the sound stage and the sound imaging, this should not be a surprise. It is a very open sounding earbud, especially in the open ear mode. But even with the ANC mode and getting that isolation, you still have a really good amount of depth and space into what you're listening to. And I do feel like this is a really good pair, again, for being able to tell where different sounds are coming from. So my overall opinion is this. This is a unique product, so I don't really find that there's a lot of things that I can compare this to, but getting a 2-in-1 device where you can listen all day in open ear mode if you want, and if you really just want to block some things out, isolate yourself, I don't feel like in either mode that you're sacrificing when it comes to audio quality. And then being able to have noise canceling, whenever you want it, and it not be just like noise reduction. I did not expect this to have the level of noise canceling that it did. So I was really surprised here. And I definitely think, especially at the price that you can get it at right now for $149, it is easily worth checking out. And if you are interested in checking these out, I will have them linked in the description below. But guys, that's my video on the brand new Soundcore AeroFit 2 Pros. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.